Okay, so we're going way back in time for today's deep dive, like all the way back to 1911.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to explore Wallace D. Wattles, The Science of Being Great.
Okay.
And, you actually sent over 2 different audiobook versions, which I think is really cool because we get to hear these ideas, in a couple different voices.
Right.
Now, a book about greatness from over a century ago, it might seem a little dated, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
But trust me, Wattles' insights about personal growth and really achieving your full potential.
Yeah.
I think they're surprisingly relevant even today. He's talking about this inner power that we all possess.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of waiting to be unleashed. Are you ready to unlock some of that greatness?
I am. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Let's dive in.
Right.
So one of the things that I really like about this book is that Wattles doesn't beat around the bush.
Yeah.
He goes right into this concept of like a principle of power.
Right.
And it exists in every single person.
Yeah. And what's so fascinating about that is that he doesn't present it as, some mystical out there concept.
Right.
He breaks it down in a way that makes you think, maybe I do have that potential within me.
Yeah. And he even compares it to like a seed.
Right.
That's just waiting for the right conditions to sprout.
Exactly.
Which I thought was a really, great analogy.
Yeah. And it's not just about like ambition or drive.
Right.
He even links this to like a union of man and God happening in the soul.
Okay.
It's like he's saying true power comes from connecting to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, like tapping into something almost spiritual, would you say?
Exactly. And you know what that reminds me of is a story he tells about Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Because he argues that Lincoln's genius wasn't just about intellect, but it was fueled by what he calls spiritual insight. And so this connection to something greater allowed him to navigate complex challenges with wisdom and clarity.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this is more than just like a self-help book.
Right.
But like aligning with something bigger,
right.
Something more powerful.
Yeah.
But how do we actually access this principle of power?
Right.
Is it just meditation and, positive thinking or?
Well, I think he definitely emphasizes thought,
Okay.
But he's also very clear that it's not about passive daydreaming.
Right.
He talks about great thoughts, creating great actions, which in turn shape a great personality.
Okay.
So it's a dynamic process, a constant interplay between thought and action.
So it's like, building a muscle, you can't just think about getting strong.
Right.
You have to lift the weights.
Exactly. And he uses these analogies of like a lawyer, a musician, an actor.
Oh, wow.
All different fields.
Okay.
But each using this process of visualization and then taking action to achieve their goals.
So you're saying this can apply to pretty much any area of life?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Whether you're trying to, build a business, improve your fitness.
Right.
It's about having a clear vision and then taking those consistent steps.
But how much control, really, how much control do we have over our circumstances?
Right.
Life throws curveballs, right?
Absolutely. And he doesn't shy away from that.
Okay.
He acknowledges that we can't control every external factor.
Right.
But he believes we have immense power over our reactions to those circumstances.
Okay.
It's like you might not be able to stop the rain,
Uh-huh.
but you can choose to dance in it.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
And that shifts the focus, from feeling like a victim to becoming more of a conscious creator of our own experience.
Okay. So instead of just reacting to everything,
right.
we can actually kind of
take ownership.
Take ownership and create our own experience.
Exactly. And one of the ways he suggests we do this is by cultivating like a radical acceptance of the world as it is. And now this doesn't mean complacency,
right?
But it means recognizing that everything, even things that we might perceive as negative, are part of a larger evolutionary process.
So you're saying that I should just accept things like poverty or injustice?
It's not about condoning those things,
right.
But it's about seeing them as part of a larger unfolding.
Okay.
And he uses this really interesting example. He talks about J.P. Morgan.
Okay.
Who was, a figure who was definitely controversial.
Yeah.
And he compares him to like those crazy prehistoric creatures that roamed the earth millions of years ago.
Okay, now that's a wild comparison.
Right.
I don't know if I see J.P. Morgan as a dinosaur, but I'm interested to hear where he's going with this.
So his argument is that even figures like Morgan, who might be seen as representing greed and excess, are playing a role in this evolution of society.
All right.
He's basically saying that everything is in its right place, even if it doesn't appear that way on the surface.
So it's like every piece of the puzzle, even the jagged ones,
Yes.
are necessary to complete the picture.
Exactly.
But how does that kind of thinking actually help us achieve greatness?
Well, his argument is that this radical acceptance frees up our mental energy from dwelling on things that we can't control.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, it allows us to focus on our own growth and contribution to the world.
So instead of getting stuck in complaining or resentment,
Yeah.
we can channel that energy into something more productive.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of our own experience.
Right.
And choosing to see the world through a lens of possibility rather than limitation.
So it's like shifting from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this kind of brings us to another fascinating concept he explores, which is this idea of reading the mind of God.
Okay, now that sounds a little mystical to me.
Right.
Is he talking about like actual divine revelation here?
Not quite, but he's using this metaphor to describe the process of tapping into like the universal knowledge that's all around us.
Okay.
What he calls the cosmic intelligence.
Right.
He even compares our limited knowledge to God's infinite experience, from planets exploding to a sparrow falling.
Wow. Okay.
Everything is present in this cosmic intelligence.
So it kind of makes you feel pretty small in the grand scheme of things, doesn't it?
It does,
Yeah.
but it also highlights this incredible potential that exists within each of us to connect to this vast reservoir of wisdom and creativity.
Right. We're bombarded with information all the time, right?
Yes.
So how do we filter out all the noise and actually hear that inner voice?
He acknowledges that it's not easy.
Yeah.
And he points out that anxiety, fear, and worry act like mental roadblocks.
Oh, wow.
Preventing us from accessing this deeper wisdom.
I could definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Like when I'm stressed or anxious, it's like my mind is just racing 1,000,000 miles a minute.
Exactly.
It's hard to hear anything else.
And that's why he emphasizes the importance of cultivating a calm and peaceful mind.
Okay.
And he suggests practices like meditation affirmations and focusing on the good in all situations as ways to kind of quiet the mental chatter and create space for that inner wisdom to emerge.
So it looks like we're trying to clear out the clutter
Yes.
in our minds
Exactly.
to make room for inspiration and guidance.
And this process of cultivating inner peace isn't just about, feeling good.
Right.
It's about accessing a level of clarity and insight
Right.
that allows us to make better decisions, navigate challenges more effectively, and ultimately live a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
It makes sense because you're saying that true power comes not from, like forcing our will on the world,
Right.
but from aligning ourselves with something bigger, something wiser.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to another key concept that he explores, which is this idea of consecration.
Okay, so we're talking about aligning ourselves with a higher power.
Right.
But what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, he defines consecration as obedience to the soul.
Okay.
And it's about listening to that inner voice, that intuitive wisdom that guides us toward our true purpose. It's about making choices that are aligned with our highest values and aspirations,
Right.
even when those choices are difficult or unpopular.
So you're saying it's not about blindly following rules or dogma,
Right.
but about tapping into our own inner compass.
Exactly.
And letting that guide our actions.
It's about living a life that is authentic and meaningful, a life that reflects our truest self.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, and he even suggests that we can practice consecration by visualizing ourselves as like a perfectly healthy, successful, and fulfilled version of ourselves, radiating love and light to everyone we encounter.
Wow, that's a powerful visualization.
It is, and it reminds us that we have the power to create our own reality by consciously choosing the thoughts and images that we focus on.
Okay.
He even encourages us to act as if we're already living this ideal life,
Okay.
behaving in ways that are congruent with our highest aspirations.
It's like fake it till you make it,
Right.
but with a deeper spiritual dimension.
Exactly. It's about embodying the qualities that we want to cultivate and trusting that our actions will eventually align with our vision.
I love that.
Okay.
But, it's one thing to visualize and have these great thoughts, but what about action?
Right. Right.
Wattles, he also talks about the importance of action.
He does. He's a big believer in the power of consistent effort.
Okay.
And he argues that even small actions taken consistently over time can lead to significant results.
Okay, so it's not about these grand gestures or, overnight transformations.
Right.
It's about consistent, deliberate effort aligned with our highest aspirations.
Exactly.
What about when things get tough?
Right.
What about when we hit those inevitable roadblocks and setbacks?
Well, that's where his emphasis on maintaining a calm and peaceful mind becomes even more crucial.
Okay.
Because he argues that when we're stressed or anxious, our judgment gets clouded, and we're more likely to make decisions from a place of fear or scarcity.
So it's like those mental roadblocks that he was talking about earlier.
Exactly.
Fear and worry prevent us from accessing that inner wisdom and guidance.
Exactly. And that's why he encourages us to engage in practices that promote relaxation and inner peace.
Okay.
Like meditation, deep breathing, or simply spending time in nature.
So it's like creating space for that still small voice within to be heard.
Yes.
Even amidst the chaos of everyday life.
Precisely. And this inner peace is not just about feeling good.
Right.
It's about accessing a level of clarity and insight that allows us to navigate challenges more effectively and make decisions that are aligned with our highest good.
That makes sense.
So welcome back. It's great to be continuing our exploration of the science of being great.
Yeah, there's just so much packed into this little book,
I know.
It's amazing how relevant his ideas are, even though it was written over a century ago.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, in the last part, we were talking about, cultivating inner peace and avoiding hurry.
Yes.
And I'm really curious to dig into that distinction that Wattles makes between hurry and speed.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept, and I think something that we can all relate to. He argues that hurry is often driven by fear and anxiety, and that it can actually sabotage our efforts because it clouds our judgment and scatters our energy.
So you're saying it's not about just like slowing down just to slow down.
Right.
But it's about shifting our internal state from one of like frantic reactivity to a more calm and focused approach.
Exactly. He believes that true effectiveness comes from a place of inner peace and clarity. And when we're operating from that state, we can move swiftly and decisively without getting caught up in that frenzy of hurry thing. It's like the difference between a frantic scramble and a graceful dance.
I love that analogy because it makes me think about those times when I'm rushing around trying to get a million things done.
Right.
And I end up making like careless mistakes or forgetting important details.
Yes.
It's like my mind is so scattered
that
I can't even think straight.
That's exactly what he's warning against. That he believes that when we're in that state of hurry, we're actually less effective, less creative, and less likely to make sound decisions. It's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks.
Oh, man, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So how do we cultivate that sense of speed without falling into that trap of hurry?
Well, he suggests that it starts with recognizing the difference in our own experience.
Okay.
Pay attention to those moments when you're feeling rushed and stressed.
Right.
And just consciously choose to slow down, take a deep breath, reconnect with your inner peace. And, he even suggests that taking breaks, going on vacations, or simply engaging in activities that bring us joy can help us to kind of recalibrate and return to a more balanced state of being.
It's such a valuable reminder in our, always on hyper-connected world.
I know.
It's so easy to just get caught up in the hustle and forget to, prioritize rest and rejuvenation. I know I'm definitely guilty of that.
Me too.
Yeah.
But, he reminds us that taking time for ourselves is not selfish.
Right.
It's actually essential for maintaining our well-being and making sure that we can show up in the world as our best selves.
Right.
And, he even suggests that our most inspired ideas often come to us when we're not actively trying to force them, when we're in a state of relaxation and receptivity.
It's like that saying, the best ideas come to us in the shower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it highlights the importance of creating space in our lives for those moments of quiet reflection and creative inspiration.
So it's not about becoming lazy or unproductive.
Right.
It's about finding that balance.
Yes.
Between focused effort and intentional rest.
Precisely. And, this balance, he argues, is crucial for achieving greatness in any area of life.
Okay.
He believes that when we're operating from a place of inner peace and clarity, we can accomplish more in less time, with less effort, and with greater enjoyment.
That's pretty compelling. I'm starting to see how like slowing down can actually help us speed up in the long run.
In the long run, exactly.
Now, another concept that really stuck with me was Wattles' emphasis on the power of thought.
Yes.
He seems to believe that our thoughts are not just fleeting mental events, but actual forces that can shape our reality.
Yeah, and this is where his ideas start to get a little bit more mystical.
Okay.
He argues that our thoughts create what he calls thought forms, which are essentially like mental blueprints that attract the circumstances and resources we need to manifest our goals.
Okay, so are you saying that we can literally create our reality with our thoughts?
He seems to believe that we can.
Whoa.
He even suggests that we can consciously create these thought forms by visualizing our desires with clarity and intention.
Okay.
The more vivid and detailed our mental pictures, the more powerful their impact on our reality.
So it's not just about positive thinking in a vague general sense, but it's about creating very specific mental images of what we want to experience.
Precisely. He even goes so far as to say that nothing that man can conceive is impossible to achieve.
Wow.
It's
bold statement. I'm not sure I'm ready to believe that I can manifest anything I can imagine.
Right.
But I'm definitely intrigued by the idea that our thoughts have more power than we realize.
Absolutely. And even if we don't fully buy into the idea of thought forms, I think there's something to be said for the power of visualization and intention.
Right.
You know, when we focus our attention on what we want, we're more likely to notice opportunities and take actions that align with our goals.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's like that saying what you focus on expands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another fascinating concept that he explores, which is this idea of identification.
Okay.
He believes that we are all connected to this larger consciousness, what he calls the universal mind, and that by tapping into this consciousness, we can access a wealth of knowledge, wisdom, and inspiration.
Okay, this is starting to sound a little bit like the Force from Star Wars.
It does have a similar vibe, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But, you know, his concept is grounded in this deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things.
Right.
You know, he believes that we're not separate, isolated individuals, but rather expressions of a larger unifying force that permeates the universe.
So it's like we're all connected to this vast web of consciousness.
Yes.
And when we tap into it, we can access a wisdom and power that transcends our individual minds.
Exactly. He even provides specific affirmations to help us cultivate this sense of identification.
Okay.
Such as, you know, there is only one mind, and I am that mind.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. I'm not sure I totally understand it, but it definitely resonates on some level.
Me too. And I think that's the beauty of his work. You know, it invites us to explore these big ideas, to stretch our minds beyond our current understanding, and to embrace a more expansive view of reality.
So we've got this idea of tapping into the universal mind, cultivating inner peace, and harnessing the power of thought.
Yes.
But Wattles also emphasizes the importance of something he calls consecration.
Yes.
What exactly does he mean by that?
Well, consecration for Wattles is about aligning ourselves with our highest ideals.
Oh.
It's a commitment to living in accordance with our values and striving to express our best selves in every moment.
He even describes it as obedience to the soul.
Exactly. It's about listening to that inner voice, that intuitive wisdom that guides us toward our true purpose.
Okay.
You know, he's suggesting that we all have this inner compass,
Yeah.
but we often ignore it in favor of external influences or societal pressures.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where our personal desires align with our higher purpose.
That's an important distinction. He's not advocating for self-denial, but rather for a conscious alignment of our will with what he calls the divine will.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these concepts are interconnected.
Yes.
It's about cultivating inner peace.
Right.
So that we can hear that inner voice, harnessing the power of thought to create a reality that aligns with our values, and then taking action in the world from a place of service and consecration.
You got it. And when we bring all of these elements together, he believes that we can achieve true greatness.
Okay.
Not in the sense of fame or fortune,
Right.
but in the sense of living a life that is aligned with our highest potential and contributing to the well-being of the world.
This has been incredibly insightful. You know, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
And this is deep dive into the science of being great and Wattles' ideas about, you know, the power of thought, the importance of service, the interconnectedness of all things. You know, they continue to resonate even over a century after he wrote them.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
And what's even more amazing is that he doesn't just present these concepts, you know, in a theoretical way.
Right.
He actually provides practical tools and techniques that we can use to apply them in our own lives. I'm actually really curious to hear about those practical tools.
Okay.
I know we're just about out of time for this part, but maybe we can delve into those in part 3.
Absolutely. You know, he offers specific guidance on everything from overcoming fear and procrastination to managing our finances and cultivating healthy habits.
All right.
I'm looking forward to exploring those with you in the next part.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm feeling inspired to put some of these ideas into practice in my own life.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing your insights.
You're welcome.
So welcome back to our deep dive into the science of being great.
It's been a fascinating journey so far.
It has. And we've been unpacking some really thought-provoking ideas, about tapping into our inner power, aligning with a higher purpose, all that good stuff.
Yes.
But I think I'm ready to get a little bit more practical. What are some of the specific tools and techniques that Wattles offers to help us actually apply these concepts in our lives?
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't just leave us hanging with these lofty ideals.
Right.
He gets down to brass tacks and offers some really practical advice on everything from overcoming procrastination to managing our finances wisely.
Okay, so let's start with procrastination, because I think we've all been there,
Oh, yeah.
putting things off, feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
How does Wattles suggest we break free from that cycle?
Well, he believes that procrastination often stems from fear.
Okay.
Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, even fear of success.
Right.
And his antidote is action.
Okay.
Not frantic, hurried action,
Right.
but calm, deliberate steps toward our goals.
So he talks about breaking down big goals into smaller, bite-sized chunks, right?
Exactly. It makes it much less intimidating that way.
Wow.
And he stresses the importance of focusing on one task at a time, giving it our full attention. And he believes that this focused action, even in small doses, builds momentum and helps to chip away at that initial inertia.
It's like that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exact.
But sometimes even that first step can feel impossible,
Right. And that's why he also suggests cultivating a sense of urgency, not in a panicky way,
right,
but just a clear understanding that now is the only time that we have to act.
Okay.
And he reminds us that, delaying our dreams only robs us of the joy and fulfillment that they can bring.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of someday thinking.
I know.
And just kind of putting off our happiness until some future date.
Exactly. And he argues that, the present moment is all we have.
Right.
And by embracing it fully, we tap into a power that can truly move mountains.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about another really practical challenge, money.
Okay.
How does Wattles approach financial well-being within this framework of achieving greatness?
Yeah, he definitely doesn't shy away from the topic. He sees money as a tool, a resource that can support us in living a great life.
Okay.
But he cautions against making it the ultimate goal.
So he distinguishes between true wealth,
yes,
which is like inner abundance,
yes,
and mere material possessions.
Exactly. True wealth for him is about having a mindset of abundance.
Okay.
A belief that the universe is infinitely generous and that we are worthy of receiving its blessings.
So it's not about hoarding money.
All right.
But about using it wisely and generously.
Yes. He encourages us to cultivate a spirit of giving.
Okay.
To share our resources with others and to use our financial abundance to make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, that right in line with his emphasis on service. Greatness isn't just about personal achievement. It's about contributing to something larger.
Absolutely.
So practically speaking, what are some of the tips that he offers for managing our finances effectively?
Well, he stresses the importance of living within our means, avoiding debt, and saving consistently. He's a big believer in developing a strong work ethic and approaching our finances with discipline and intentionality.
He even talks about investing wisely, right?
He does.
It's like, don't just sit on your money, make it work for you.
Exactly.
And for the greater good.
Yeah, he encourages us to see money as a force that can be harnessed for positive change, both in our own lives and in the world around us.
I love that because it's like, taking the shame and scarcity out of the money conversation.
Right.
And reframing it as like a tool for empowerment and service.
I agree. It's a much more expansive and liberating way to view finances.
Okay, so let's move on to relationships. Because Wattles also talks a lot about the importance of relationships.
He does.
And he's really big on kindness, treating others with respect.
Yes.
Even those who might be difficult. So how does he suggest we navigate those challenging relationships?
Well, he believes that our thoughts and beliefs about others have a powerful impact on the way we interact with them. So he encourages us to see the good in everyone, even those who might be behaving badly.
Yeah. I mean, that's easier said than done sometimes.
It is. He acknowledges that it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But he believes that by consciously choosing to focus on the positive aspects of others, we not only create a more harmonious environment, but we also help to bring out their best qualities.
So you're saying that our positive thoughts about other people can actually influence their behavior?
He seems to think, so he argues that our thoughts have creative power not just in our own lives, but in the lives of those around us.
Wow.
So he encourages us to approach all of our interactions with a spirit of kindness and generosity, recognizing that everyone is on their own journey of growth and evolution.
Yeah, that's a powerful reminder because it's so easy to get caught up in judgments and criticisms.
I know.
But when we step back and remember that we're all just doing the best we can.
Right.
It creates more space for compassion and understanding.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key theme that runs throughout his work, which is the importance of maintaining a positive mental attitude.
Right. He talks about that a lot.
He does. He believes that our thoughts have a profound impact on our experience of life and that we can consciously choose to focus on the good, even when faced with challenges and setbacks.
And he even suggests that we can reprogram our subconscious minds by repeatedly affirming positive beliefs and visualizing our desired outcomes.
He does. And while this might sound a little woo-woo at first, there's actually a growing body of scientific evidence that supports the idea that our thoughts and beliefs can have a measurable impact on our physical and mental health, our relationships, even our success in the world.
Okay, so it's not just about feeling good.
Right.
It's about creating a mental environment that supports our overall well-being and empowers us to achieve our goals.
And he provides a whole toolbox of techniques for cultivating a more positive mindset, including practicing gratitude, focusing on our strengths, reframing negative thoughts, and surrounding ourselves with positive influences.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It has.
Into Wallace D. Wattles, The Science of Being Great.
It really has.
His ideas about tapping into our inner power, aligning with a higher purpose, and taking practical steps to manifest our dreams are truly inspiring.
I agree. His work reminds us that greatness is not something that is reserved for a select few.
Right.
It's a potential that exists within each and every one of us. And it's a potential that we can unlock by cultivating the right mindset, taking consistent action, and living a life of service and purpose.
Well, Wattles leaves us with a lot to ponder.
He does.
But most importantly, he gives us a roadmap for unlocking our own greatness.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep diving deep.